I want to talk about one of the other art projects I'm working on. Typically, I end up talking about what it is I'm making and how I'm making it. A lot of times I don't talk about why. I can jump into that a little bit here. So I've got this is a little different from what I've been working on in the past. This is it's a butterfly I'm making. And what this kind of involves is something that I'd kind of tinkered with in the past. Mulberry, not necessarily mulberry paper, but a sculpture that uses kind of like a decoupage. Oh, look at my little helper back here. Here comes Charlotte to help me. So this is kind of an interesting thing. In the past, I worked on a project that involved this big parachute that I made out of wire and essentially tracing paper. I got a big roll of tracing paper and I kind of did a decoupage on that with matte medium and that tracing paper and put it over the wireframe that I'd made for this parachute. It was about 3.5, 4 feet diameter on that. I'll go into that some other time, but that kind of, way back then, kind of interested me in that. And recently, I've been digging around in, and I was kept seeing these things. I poke around places like Pinterest and the like for art ideas, and I came across a bunch of these things where people were making these equivalent to chrysalis type things out of like some kind of paper. And by chance, I stumbled on one where they talked about using mulberry paper. I went and looked that up, and it's kind of an interesting material. It's got a lot of texture to it, and it can withstand a little bit of having like the equivalent to the matte medium put on it. Yeah, so I just kind of decided I wanted to jump into that. I've been wanting to make a butterfly of some variety. So what I did here with this, so that kind of explains a little bit of the why. With this, I went in and I took, I had several things from other projects. The wire that you see isn't really wire here for the form of the butterfly. It's a TIG welding rod that I'd ordered. I was going to use it for another project that I haven't gotten into yet, for the pinball machine actually, but I was going to make some wire ramps on it. And I just kind of used some of that. It's like I think it was, I can't remember whether it was stainless steel on this, the equivalent to, or like a stainless type rod. And I came in here and I bent it to the basic shape. I printed out some things that gave basic butterfly wing patterns, and took this out. I've got an acetylene torch, and I initially tried using silver solder on this, and it didn't work. Wouldn't stick to it. Just kind of ball up no matter what I did. So I went and got some took a brazing rod, the torch, and that worked. I had to be really careful that I didn't burn through the TIG welding rod on that. But for the body of it, I took a wood dowel and I essentially kind of sanded it down into the basic shape, and then I wrapped, cut a little couple grooves in here for holding the wires for the wing frames in. Wrapped a bunch of wire around it. Now that's the one place I made a mistake. I should have used stainless steel wire. Instead, I just grabbed. I had some really thin gauge wire that was probably like picture frame hanging wire, and that'll probably discolor over time. That was one of the problems I had with the parachute project that I did, that the wire kind of discolored a little bit later. It's just, in good or bad is what it did. Here, I just covered it up with some air dry clay and kind of barely sanded it down a little bit. I'd spray painted the wood dowel, with some silver paint after I did the brazing on the same thing on the TIG wire. I ended up spray painting the silver spray paint over it. Here you can see where I've started. This is kind of just playing around. It's rough texture on it, but I've started coating the wing with that mulberry paper. And I'll end up, coating all the wings here, and then in the grand scheme of things, I'll come back and paint it with some kind of translucent paint. Maybe a solid color, may not be. I'll probably put a couple of, and I should have done it earlier, a couple of eye hooks, very small eye hooks in it, so that I can hang it from the ceiling. and figure out from that point, you know, how I want to do that. What I should have done was just put one eye hook here, and then probably put a on each, and I may still muck around with that. Put some kind of little little hook, not necessarily a hook, but some kind of little fastener up there where I could connect two wires so I get a 3 connection point so it doesn't spin around. If I want kinetic, you know, maybe I'll just maybe I'll let it spin around or something, but we'll see on that. Anyway, that's kind of where this project's at. It's just kind of slow running, and just keep kind of tinkering around with it. But anyway, I hope that proved to be interesting there.